It's time for Damn Good Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Shelby Claymore. From corporate executive to CEO to entrepreneur and the founder of Damn Good Marketing Live. This podcast is all about digital marketing, building a business you love, and creating a brand that's authentic to who you are. So if you're ready for honest, raw marketing conversations that you will not find anywhere else, let's freaking get it. Oh my gosh, you guys, we have Alex Street here. I'm so freaking pumped. As you all know, I've talked about him a lot, but I would love to get to know you, let them get to know you, how you've evolved into what you do now. And then let's get into like how you've helped bring my story out when I truly thought I was like a boring human being. So welcome to the show. Give us the spill. Who is Alex Street and how are you doing today?
Oh, I am so good. This is amazing. It's such a joy to be here. You just bring the energy right off the bat. It's fantastic. And I'm just thrilled to get into it with you. So, I mean, we can go anywhere. We can go into storytelling. We can go into what your story looks like now, how we unpack that, what that looks like. Yeah, I can go back to my childhood if you want to, how I got here. I'm here for all of it and just want to help your audience. So, what do you got?
Really fast, let's tell them this. Okay, so those of you that don't know, or maybe that you're new here listening in, is I met Alex back in, what is that? February, March, I think, April. I don't know. Between February and April, I'm not sure. In Denver, we were in
There's a month between February and April, I think. I don't know what it is, but
I might have missed that. Whatever. Anyway, so I went to Denver and Keisha was like, y'all are going to get blown away by this guy we're bringing in. Because I was like, Keisha, I need to help with my personal brand. I'm ready to keynote. I'm ready to talk about my story. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. She's like, you're going to find clarity with this guy. In walks him with this big old sticky notepad. I'm going to like paint the visual. And he just dove deep into us. You're very animated. You're very like passionate about what you do. And it was like so intriguing to you because how we were just talking before we got online is everybody is like so gun-ho on like you have to have the sob story when you have a story. And truly you just need a story of transformation. And like when you told your story, which I want to get you to tell a little bit of that really quickly for the community is, when you told your story, it doesn't have to be a soppy story. It's just your story. And when you pull it out of yourself, then you can touch anyone with the story that you have that you may think is boring. So give us maybe like start with a little bit of like where your transformation came from and how you got to where you are now.
I love that so much. That's such a good intro because I think there's so many people sitting there with that same question, that same thought of like, I know I need this, but I don't think I have it. Or like, I know I'm here to share a message, but I don't know where it is or it's not as good as blank anybody else's that you've heard, right?
Right.
Big barriers that stand in the way. So for me, I mean, I stand up here now confidently doing this. Yes, like I am a professional speaker and a storytelling coach. And I help entrepreneurs to focus on impact-driven work by being so clear in your one story that you can show up with confidence. That's what I do now. That's as I sit here now facing you, Shelby, diving into this conversation. But that has been 40 years of finding clarity and feeling confused all the time.
Yes.
In who I was and what I'm supposed to do. But like, you know, you want to go back in the story. This is where I would go back to the beginning and say, like, it was clear to me. It was absolutely clear what I would do, what I was going to do. I was going to be on stage. I knew that since I was like 8 years old. My mom was an actress. She grew up in England and like did like West End London, which is like Broadway, but in England. And like went to drama school, like boarding school when she was a kid. So she did this like all the time. And so I grew up in that and she was putting on performances for our school and she threw me on stage at 8 years old, whether I wanted to or not. And I caught the freaking bug. Like I just needed it. I wanted more of that. And then I like lived in the theater with her. She would go on the weekends and she would perform and I would go and I would sit backstage or I would sit in the rehearsal room. And I remember like sitting in the theater and looking at this woman. This is my mom. Like she's just my mom. You know, she cuts my carrot sticks. That's who she is. And yet when she stands on that stage, she made the audience feel something. She said a line and they laughed. That's like emotional transformation. Like, let's not devalue that in the least. She made them feel something and changed their emotion. She transformed them in the moment. And so something was magic for me in that moment, Shelby, where I was like, holy crap, that's what I got to do. Like, I want a piece of that. How do I do this? Stand on the stage, use my words. to shape people's lives. And with that clarity, it's so fascinating to me because I think a lot of people have that clarity, right?
Yes.
Early on, this is the point. You're like, I know what I'm here for. I'm here
Right.
to make a difference, or I'm here to play a sport, or I'm here to like, yeah, start businesses. I started my business when I was 12 or something like that. You know, everyone's got that
Yeah.
really, I knew early on what I was supposed to do. And then something gets in the way. And I know that that's what we figured out for you as well. And for me, that was like I call it confusion. It was this, I would show up on stage, and whether I was acting or I was speaking, and I was trying so hard to like give the audience what they wanted, to
Yeah.
create that transformation like my mom did, to
Yeah.
force it almost, you know? And then if they didn't respond that way, then I would just be left like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Completely confused. And so I know, like, as you show up on social media now, it's like, yeah, no, people are doing this all the time. You're trying to you're trying to give the people what you think they want, but then they don't click like, they don't say yes, they don't sign up, and you're like, what am I even doing here?
Right.
Confusion.
Yes.
And so for me, that was just that carried through for like decades, honestly, of just
It's
wondering,
so
what is this?
it,
And yeah, go for it.
no, it's just like it's so real when you say things like that because truly it's like so confusing until like you really pinpoint clarity. And I didn't understand that, y'all. I'm gonna just paint the picture because like even in like Denver, I think I cried there too. I do because like you did my story arc. I still have it. I dated it. I want to keep it forever because like I
Yeah.
truly now know my story because I've worked with Alex after Denver too. And I would just get so annoyed. I'm like, I know that there's something in there, but it's not clicking yet. And it's so frustrating because you know that there's something that you want to do. You just don't know how to tell your story in a way that is going to be captivating for someone else to see the transformation that you have in themselves.
Mm,
And so I was so annoyed. I knew you were so good at your job. I came back and I was like, I have to hire him as a one-on-one because I need more clarity in like what I took from that mastermind.
yeah.
And I remember our conversation when we had our group, I mean, not our group, our one-on-one together. And I remember the whole freaking time I was like, what the hell is he trying to tell me? Like I was getting so frustrated, y'all. And then at the end, when it clicks, it's just like, holy shit, it clicks. And then that's where like the messaging, the storytelling, the transformation truly happens. And you feel like you are
Mhm.
living in your true purpose of what you're supposed to be doing.
So, okay. Oh, that's brilliant. So you, even as we're diving in on that call, you're saying like it was frustrating because it was like I think what I heard was that it's like we're searching for something. And did you feel like I knew where we were going, but I was letting you lead?
Yes. Yes. At some
That
point,
is
I was like, just
frustrating,
tell
isn't
me
it?
what you're trying to say. Like,
Is
all I
that not
need
the
you to
most
do.
frustrating thing as a coach? Like with your coach, you're like, I know you're coaching me right now. I know you're trying to pull it out of me, but just tell me. I know you've got it. Is that how you felt?
Yes, that is how I
Oh,
felt for the
geez.
whole first half. I'm like, what am I even getting out of this? Because I truly was like, what is happening? And like, I wish he would just tell me like what we're doing and like he sees the answer in the question he's asking me, but like I don't see it. So like I need him to tell me where that answer is, and then I'll be like, yeah, that's right. That actually is right.
That's
But
so fascinating because honestly, it's sometimes you may have felt that, but I would say it's more curiosity leading than anything. More, I really do through this work, through the discovery work of the story. It
yeah,
really is. I could, I could assume, but I don't know your details. I don't know your story. So when I say something like, okay, so where did that lead you? Like, how did that feel?
yeah,
Was that difficult? Was that easy? Like, I don't know. I am literally trying. It's like a director trying to pull something out of an actor where you're
yeah,
like, it's in there somewhere, but I think I know, but like I just need to keep saying things until it triggers something within you. And then you go, oh shoot, there it is.
there it is.
That's the connecting point. That's the feeling that I felt back then.
Yeah,
And that's where the magic is. So for me, I think like this is the thing. Sometimes this happens with a coach. Sometimes this happens in something that you're like expecting. You're like, this is going to be a transformative conversation or a transformative
yeah,
moment. But most often, those points of clarity show up in our stories in like seemingly insignificant moments. Like I think the one I told you guys, the one that I typically talk about is like I was at a mastermind, the first mastermind, entrepreneurship mastermind that I was a part of.
yes,
Um,
yes,
I show up with like this business idea that is flailing. It's barely alive. It's made no money. And I'm stepping into a room with people who are making 400K a year and their goal is to hit 1 million. And I'm like, I'd like to hit 30,000 in a year. Like, that would be great. I was a
Yeah.
youth pastor for 15 years before that. Like, that was the best salary I'd ever known. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
could I get something? And they just seemed so perfect. But I stood up there to introduce myself first. They gave me the microphone first, even though I
Yeah.
felt like the weakest and I should not be in this room. I was forced into this position to talk about what I do. And in that moment, in that pressure cooker of the 90 seconds to talk about my business, I talked about my dreams. I talked about my hopes. I talked about the impact I wanted to make. And I talked about this story that, like, I've been confused for so long and I'm here looking for clarity.
Yeah.
And it felt like such a failure moment because, like, I didn't give people in this room this high level goal and
Yes.
action plan that I was here to accomplish. And I felt like such a failure again. Like, I was completely confused again. And then I sat down and one of those perfect entrepreneurs leaned over to me and said, "You need to teach us to speak like you do. Your storytelling is your superpower."
Yeah.
And so that seemingly insignificant little whisper at the beginning of this retreat back in September 2019 sparked something that was already already placed within there like decades before, but just became so clear to me was that I was trying so hard to like fit in and do this thing that
Yes.
everybody says I should do. And all that I needed to do was what comes easy to me, which was show up and help people find the message that's within them and share it with the world. And so 5 years later now, here I am with StoryArc, with my book, with my business, with my coaching, with my speaking, showing up. And still, I feel like I'm just getting started, but it's more clear than
Yes.
ever. And that's
Wait.
what I'm here to help do.
So wait, I want to take a moment. I wasn't planning on this question at all, but
Amazing.
you said something a while ago that sparked something in me. It's like you were very uncomfortable in the room. You weren't supposed to be in the room, and you were like, "I just want to make $30,000 a year." So, like, what is your advice to people that like don't feel like they belong in a room, but they might need to be in that room? Because if you would have never been in that room, Alex, like your life
Yep.
would have been completely different today, like, or it could have not been, but like it maybe prolonged it or whatever. But that is what really gave you the like rear, like the swift kick in the
hmm
rear to say, this is what you should be doing. So what's your
hmm
advice to people that are in or don't know how to put themselves in uncomfortable situations or put themselves in the room that could help further them?
Yeah, it's such, man, it's a dance of an answer because you don't know, right? There's both of those ideas is if it's uncomfortable, do it. And if it's uncomfortable, no, that's your nervous system like
Yes.
protecting you. Like, actually,
Yep.
maybe you shouldn't do it. And so, how do you de- trust that? How do you do that? The only reason I was in that room is because my friend who I trust said, this is the right path for you. And so, there was a high level of trust there that got me into that space. When I was in that space, it was a commitment from myself to say, no matter how small I feel, no matter how stupid I feel in this room, no matter how scared I am that they're going to laugh me out of this place, I need to stay because the answer is here. So I would say that the initial, movement
Yeah.
always, maybe I'm hesitant to say always, but I really believe it always comes from someone else. There's another character in your story that will help clarify that this is the next step to take.
Yeah.
So for me at that time, that was Joey. Even in that room, as I now am in this room, the other character in that story was Lauren, who leaned over and said something to me, right? There's always, you can look for this moment, something that's going to tip the scale, that's going to say, yeah, I think that's actually it.
Yeah.
I think that is the right move. And then you say, okay, well, here I go. And how do you continue in that? Even though when you step into that room, you feel that discomfort, you feel that fear.
Yeah.
For me, that was a commitment to say, okay, whatever I'm feeling right here, I'm choosing to step into another level. Like how I feel right now is not who I am anymore.
Mm.
Right. I'm stepping into this room because I know this is where I'm supposed to be. But for so long, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's what's showing up for me right now. But because I know that's not who I am, I'm saying yes to this and I'm going to keep going forward. Does that bring some clarity to that? Does
Yes,
that
I love that
feel?
for you. I love that because, like, truly, some people just have to take a chance, have to take a risk. And for that moment, you trusted that human being that was like, you have to be in that room.
Yeah.
for your life to change. And so I find that super fascinating. I want to dive into a little bit with you on
Mm.
if people, let's go into if people don't feel like they have a story to tell, let's dive into the work that you do. Let's give them something that they can like maybe walk away from this episode and say,
Love it.
this, let me look at this from a higher level perspective of the story arc that you've created and
Yeah.
give them something to dive into and tell them the importance of like your story does not have to be a sob story. It is a story
Hmm.
that you've lived to tell that could literally transform just one other person's life if you get clarity and you're able to tell that.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. I love the difference between storytelling and telling your story.
Yes.
There is a difference, and I think we are afraid of storytelling.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
as entrepreneurs, as new business owners showing up, you're like storytelling feels big.
Yeah.
And then we're attaching that to telling your story. What I'm here to say is that your story is actually as small as 2 words. It's as simple as 2 words, a simple transformation from there to here. And if
Mm,
you can clarify that, then you've got this story to tell that then you drop in any given moment within that and you're telling a story.
yes.
So that's what, the story arc, the transformation story arc, everything that I do is about, Shelby, helping people like you
Yeah.
to step back from all the details and those moments and when your family moved and when you got that first job and then you left that relationship or you left that job or you got injured or you had your kid, to step back from all of those moments that we get overwhelmed by
Yes.
thinking that's my story,
Mm,
and to zone in on, oh, actually, for so much of my life I felt confused. Now I feel clear.
yeah.
And the thing I care most about in this world is helping other people feel clear as well, because there's nothing else like it. That's my gift. That's what I get to bring to the world. That's my story. So for you, right? For those listening, I think that there's something there of like this is what I call zooming out
Yeah.
and zooming in. Storytelling is about zooming out and seeing the really big picture, the really big transformation, then zooming in on the given moments,
Yeah.
any given moment. And if you zoom out as far as you can possibly go, you just see that there is 2 points on the map from there to here. Clarify that. And you've got a story to tell. You've got one clear story to always show up and on every one of your reels, on every one of your stories that you're telling. Whenever you talk about how you're coaching people, how you're changing people, what you're doing on the podcast, it's always this movement of like, you know what? Today I showed up and I wanted to hit record, but I felt so confused in what I was talking about, or whatever your word is. But then I remembered that I've got a story to tell, or I've got a message to share. And so
Yes.
here I am saying, hitting record and showing up. And that's given me the clarity to at least show up today. If you need that kind of clarity, then, start a conversation. Let's talk.
That's so good.
So there's no details of the story. That's the thing. I think people go like, that's not storytelling, but it truly is.
Mm,
Storytelling is transformation.
yes.
That's all you need. If you've got transformation, you can tell a story. If there's no transformation, my friends, there is no story.
Right. Are you ready to escape the social media monster and create content in under an hour and not feel like you're tied to your phone? Well, I have the perfect solution for you. I'm Shelby Claymore. I am an agency owner, a founder of a live event, and a podcast host of Damn Good Marketing Podcast. And I'm here to give you all the secret sauce and all the goodness for you to thrive on social media and build that brand awareness using organic social media. So why the hell not? July 17th, if you want the link, be there or be square. We're putting on a free webinar where it's going to teach you all the goodness and give you all the fundamentals to build out content in under a freaking hour for you and your business. You deserve to be seen, you deserve to be heard, and you deserve to grow your business in all ways that doesn't make you feel like you have to consume all the time and be attached to that device. If you want the link and you want to be in a room with like-minded individuals taught by someone that has been behind the scenes of social media management for over 3 years with a background in marketing for over a decade, I'm your girl, Shelby Claymore. Ask for the link below and we will see you there. I guess we can give them a little example of mine too, honestly, because
Yeah,
like
let's do
truly,
it.
like when I started with Alex, well, at first it was like a word vomit of like I have only like 10 minutes with you at the Keisha thing because each of us got like a time with him. And we are like, you're awesome. Like, I want whatever. So I literally word vomited, y'all, everything. But I thought overarching my story was leaving corporate and taking a chance and taking a risk. And Alex, I never told the story until you brought this out of me at Keisha's event. I forgot about it. The time where I was sitting at dinner with my husband and I was like crying because he was like, does it just come easy to you? And remember how we were like, well, Shelby, you just overcomplicate everything in your life. So I thought my story, my transformation story was me leaving corporate. But when Alex and I really dug into it, that's the overarching thing. But now it's this year where, I pulled back as a social media manager. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be easy. And he pulled that out of me because it was actually Lent. That was really my transformation. That is what now we're doing everything based around the story I'm telling. I shot my shot at the Powerhouse Women contest to see if I can get in. That's the story I'm telling. And so you don't see that story until you do the zoom out perspective in your life to zoom in into one really specific moment that can help you tell that story. So let's dive into that a little bit of how we got to that point, or give them a little bit of something of like maybe a few things that they could do to kind of pinpoint something that was really transformational. It wasn't me leaving corporate. It was me like having this moment this year.
But here's
really
so here's the beauty, and here's the takeaway I think from this is that it could be though, like it's both. It actually where we sit here and we go like it's both. So I think when you're looking for that middle moment, you think of the story arc. It's this arc with 3 slices, like just 3 pizza slices. Who I was, what happened, who I am. 3-act story. That's what we're looking for. So if you got the who I was this person who was right. We dig into this, and you were driven. You focused so much on. I mean, you tell me the story. What
I
do
think
we
where I started was I felt undervalued. I felt that I was unworthy because like we were looking at it from the lens of like corporate. Like when we
right?
first
So
dug into
we were
this,
zoned in on that moment,
very
that
zoned
time, and
into
you started
corporate.
there.
And then we went to the end and it was like, it's with ease now. Like this is coming easy. I'm walking in my purpose. I feel fulfilled. I feel all these things. And you said like what happened in the middle.
Yeah.
And when I started pulling out the details of, I started the social media agency and it felt like it came easy to me. And I felt that this was like crazy and it was all going to crash and burn and I was going to fail and like all these things. And then it really was, things don't have to be complicated. They can be easy. And when I pulled back, we talked about the Lent thing this year of like how I like literally stepped away when I thought I had to like consume myself of social media all the time because I was a social media manager. That was just a lie because the world kept spinning when I logged off. And it really doesn't have to be hard or complicated to actually advertise your business on social media. So it went from complicated where I started to where I am now, which is I'm trying to tell everyone that it's easy, but I had so many transformational pieces in the middle of what happened that had to get me here first.
So that's the key here. That's what I love is you're like, it wasn't the corporate gig. It wasn't, was it the conversation with my husband? Was it Lent? There's a bunch of different moments now that are showing up in that middle portion. The what happened to shift you. For so much of my life, it was complicated. Things were overcomplicated. It was making it harder than it needed to be is what it felt like. Now, end of the story. Here I sit, or as far as the story's gone so far, I sit here and see that it can be easy. It can be easy to do this, and you can feel free and light and see and see it clearly. But in the middle of that, then you get to go into this middle section and say, we're not looking for the moment. We're looking for a moment to tell at this time. So which moment do you want to pick?
Yes.
Because it depends for you, Shelby, whether you're going, depending on what podcast you're going on. If the audience has heard it before and you don't want them to hear another one, you could tell the corporate story and frame that around, I didn't like it. It was so complicated. Just felt like I was rushing, I was pushing, I was trying too hard, and everything was so complicated. And then when I left, it's like things just opened up and I saw it more clearly. That's how I got here. Just because it was 20 years ago doesn't mean that it's not as significant as something 20 minutes ago that has shifted you to get you where you are. So when you look at this, you're like, it wasn't that story. It was this story. I get that. And I hear that. And I go, yeah, but it's kind of both.
It's kind of whatever.
You get to use either one whenever you want. I told you the story about me being at this mastermind. I could tell you, I basically have 3 that I like really lean on as my what happened moments. The first one is like my mentor, or a youth pastor when I was 17 years old. Dave gave me the first chance to speak on stage, not as an actor, but as a speaker, to
Yeah.
share a message with this youth group. And it wasn't that moment, but it was when I screwed up. And then he said, "Do you want to try again?" That sparked something within
Mm.
me that has me
Right.
still trying again, showing up every day and delivering a message for an audience.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? So there's a moment, but I've also got the mastermind. I could also tell you about one of my last conversations with my mom before she passed away 12 years ago, and how she, being this super influential figure in my life, helped me see what really mattered, that this was a gift that we give to the audience. That showing up for her was about giving a gift to people, that they leave different than they came in. Jeez. And how what we have is something that we get to give to people. And
That's
so
so
now
powerful.
I show up, and what am I doing? Trying to
Yeah.
give as much as I possibly can. So I could tell you any of those moments as I shift now and try to wipe those tears away.
Yeah. Well, that was powerful as hell. I didn't know that. But the thing is, like, every time you talk, I'm just like, holy crap, because I thought I knew. And then I'm like, holy shit, he really does like blow my mind every time he talks. But like, you are right. When you do the art of what happened, there are so many moments, depending on the situation that you're in, that you can choose from. What does your
Hmm.
audience need to hear? Have they already heard this story? Do they need to
Hmm.
hear a different story? Do you need to pull on emotions in some sort of other way to motivate them to do X, Y, Z? So I think
Hmm.
that that's super powerful because I was so honed in. I think I was so aggravated that I didn't know what I was going to know after I worked with you. And so I was like, I know that there's something in there because when I
Yeah.
first started with Keisha, there was a big ass question mark. Like I literally remember our first call, I was crying. Let's just call it an emotional year. Okay. A transformational year. Okay. That's what we're going to call it
Great.
instead.
I like that. You shifted from emotional to transformational.
It's fine. We're fine.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
They go together. No
Well, it
doubt.
was literally like this huge question mark. And I was like, I don't know. I know that there's something in there. I know God's trying to tell me something. I know that there's something that I'm supposed to be doing that's different than what I've been doing. I need to know what it is. So I think that progressively, I always had the story of like, I left corporate, I took a risk. You can do it too. You just have to show up, blah, blah, blah. And so I just think that it's so powerful and it just means so much. And that's why I'm so passionate about it now to
Hmm.
share you with my audience, being like, if you feel like you don't have a story, or if you feel like you do have a story, but you don't know where to start, then you need to talk to Alex because no matter what your life is giving you, there is a story there. It doesn't have to make people
Yeah.
cry. It doesn't have to make this soppy story of all the things that could have happened bad in your life that we have kind of been trained with, like like the reality TV and all these things that people come up and they're like, "Well, I had this happen to me." You don't have to have that. You just have to have a
Yeah.
story that's going to impact one person that can help change their life because it happened to you and they can see themselves through you when you pull that good story out of yourself.
And here's how we know. Can I add on to that? Because here's
Yes, absolutely.
how we know that it's going to make an impact, because the transformation, the from and the to, that to word. So for me, it's clarity. For you, it's ease. That that is the impact word. That's the
Mm,
impact that when we zone in on that, we're like, again, I wish everybody in the world could feel this way. When you start to zone in on that, you're like, that's my deepest desire right now. That's how I want clients to walk away feeling when they're done working with me. That's how I want an
yes.
audience to leave after they're done. That's how I want my friends to leave my dinner parties when they're done, is to feel like they're more clear about who they are or our friendship. I don't know. But whatever, that every
Yes.
interaction people leave feeling that way, that's the impact that you care about. And now when you find that, that is removed from the the details of your story,
Yes.
of your actual, like, of you telling the story about going to jail or getting busted for drugs or having a super lame, boring childhood and work experience. It doesn't matter, because the impact is what stands out, and that's how we know that you're making a difference, because you're helping people go from there to here. And the details of the story, I don't want to say don't matter, but they it should just free you up to
Yeah.
pick and say what you feel like saying in the moment, instead of feeling like, I need to impress people in this time. I
Yes.
need to tell something that is captivating and tear jerking and emotional, as you say. It's like, That's that's not what this is about. If that's what this is about, if that's what we're doing out here, well then yeah, it's I mean, there's other coaches that help you do that. There are. And I can help you do storytelling. I can help you tell a captivating story. That's fine. But what I'm
Yeah.
here to do is help simplify this process so that you get to make the biggest impact that you're here to make and focus on impact driven work
Yeah.
using one clear story. I remember when I was a youth pastor, there
Mm.
was so I did that for what 12, 15 years, something like that. And I specifically worked with middle schoolers. Absolutely love them. Like most of the
Mhm.
world's running away from them. And I was like, nah, let's hang out. This is so
Yeah.
awesome. You guys are the
Yes.
best. And nobody's telling you how amazing you are. They're all saying when you grow up, you'll be something. And I'm like, no, you've got something now. Like there's leadership,
Yes.
there's something within there. And we would do these, every so often we would have these baptism services where kids were like, I
Mhm.
want to get baptized. And I was like, amazing. And then part of that is a kid gets behind the microphone and tells their story of like how they found Jesus and everything. And that was such a significant part of the process. And so many kids didn't would say, I don't want to get baptized. I don't want to take that step because
Oh.
I don't have a story to tell.
Oh.
Like that would show up so often. And I don't know if your listeners, again, are familiar with that context or what that looks like, but it's the same thing that I hear every day from people
Yes.
online today. I don't know if I want to speak. I don't want to know if I want to start that business because I don't know if I have a story to tell. And
Yes.
so what I was telling these kids back then is the same message I'm telling now. I just didn't know it back then. Is look, because they're like, oh, my friend was a drug addict and then found Jesus and now he's not. That's way
Yeah.
cooler than mine, which is I grew up in a safe Christian home and accepted Jesus at camp when I was 7 years old, and I still I still love it and I want to serve people. Like that.
It's still a
That's
story.
that's actually it.
Yeah.
But what we need to do now is just clarify how did you feel before and how do you feel now? You can clarify that, then you got a story.
Yes.
And it's captivating and it's worth celebrating because there's change, there's movement, there's transformation. And that's all that we care about as humans.
All right, guys, this episode is brought to you by Woodlake Addiction Recovery Center. At Woodlake, they understand that overcoming addiction is a journey and not a destination. With over 3 decades of expertise, their comprehensive treatment programs are designed to address the physical, psychological, and spiritual aspects of recovery. Whether you're seeking intensive outpatient care or residential treatment, Woodlake offers personalized plans to meet your unique needs. Located in several convenient locations across Louisiana, they're dedicated to helping individuals reclaim their lives and finding lasting sobriety. Visit woodlakecenter.com or call 225 924 1910 to learn more and take the first step towards your healthier and happier future. I think that that's huge because a lot of times, like, what I hear is like, who am I to show up, or who am I to do this thing when somebody else is already doing it? Who's actually going to listen to me do XYZ? It's the same thing with like the story
Yeah.
and not feeling like they have it. I want to actually bring you back because you brought me back to a story you told us, and I want you to tell our listeners this. So I'm going to give you a
Mm.
hint so you know what it is. About relatability, where you put when you did camp or something, and you put the kids on the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
side, and they had to like run if you eat chocolate or you don't eat chocolate, and then you
Yeah.
asked this one question and like the people were hesitant, but tell them why that matters, because the relatability and like why is you just tell the story.
Yeah. It's so good. I mean, yeah, okay, I'll just tell that exact one.
Okay.
There's something I saw on this show on MTV. It was called If You Really Knew Me, and they did this
Yeah.
exercise at a high school. It was about like getting high schoolers to see that they're not so different. I was like, that's brilliant. Shoot. And then I would go and speak at summer camps. For a whole week, I would be there as like the camp pastor and help guide them through a thing. And every Sunday was so awkward. Like the first night of camp, I'd show up and it was just so weird because they don't know me. They don't know each other unless they're friends. But then you've got the kids who don't know anybody in the cabin. And like, how do they break through with the cliques? And man, I just so felt that feeling so
Yeah.
viscerally. Like, we're going to do that exercise. We're going to do If You Really Knew Me. And I've done it so many times since with adults and all kinds of in auditoriums of 600 people doing the same sort of thing, where I just say, I got them to stand on one side of the room and if I was doing this in an auditorium, I just get you to stand up with me.
Yeah.
But, and the exercise was, I'm going to say a statement that's true about me. And if it's true about you in some way, then you're going to cross the line and go across the other room. And so, yeah, I said, if you really knew me, then I don't like chocolate. And so, like, some kids walked over to the line and it created chaos in the room. It was funny. We're all having a
Yeah.
good time. Great. Go back. Then I was like, if you really knew me, you know that my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. And yeah, the energy shifted, right? Everyone's excited for camp and like, let's get to know you. Okay, we're going to do a fun kind of game here. And then they're like, oh, shoot, this is like about me.
Yeah.
And some kids confidently stepped across because sure, they're 15. Their parents have been divorced for 12 years. I don't know. Like, this is part of their story. They're not ashamed of it. They don't know. It's easy. But for some kids, it was really difficult. And for one kid in particular, I remember she crossed that line like she was stepping off a cliff.
Yeah.
And when she got over there, the invitation was, don't hang your head down, because now it feels like the whole room is looking at you now that now that you've stepped up and shared this piece about yourself. It feels like everyone's looking at you and judging you.
Mm.
And so I invited them to lift up your head, look to the people to the left and the right of you, because they're the ones who are with you and you didn't know it. And then look across the room, because we're the ones who are going to support you and you didn't know it. And we went on like that. I mean, the tears were coming already, but we did a few more questions like that just to open up and say, my family struggled financially, or like, getting in that context, I doubt my faith. I don't like my physical appearance. I think I'm dumb. All these things, again, true about me, that it's like I was going first, that they
Yeah.
also say, oh yeah, this is true about me too.
Yeah.
And this is so good, Shelby, because I was just talking to my friend who was a camp counselor at that time at that
Mm.
camp.
Yeah.
And she went back into the cabin with 9 of those girls and was then going to be with them all week. And she was just telling me this a couple weeks ago. She's like, I still remember that week. Of all the weeks that I served at camp, I still remember that week because we were up until 5 a.m. And I mean, we were dealing with stuff. People were opening up and sharing stuff about themselves that they'd never talked about before. And people felt like best friends by Tuesday. Why? Because we
Yeah.
shared a part of our story. Because we opened up and said, hey, if you really knew me, you'd know this about me. Now, does it have to be this vulnerable, really soft spot in your life that you share? No, it just has to be something true about you. It has to be something that you experience. And when you share that, when you do open up with that, you give people an opportunity to not only say, you're kidding, you too,
Yes.
but also to say, I'm here to support you as you need it. And in an age where I think we are desperate for human connection, the foremost important words we can say are, you're kidding, you too.
Yes.
So in that whole effort, this is what I feel like so much of my work is, and really all of us, those of us that would consider ourselves impact-driven workers, is clarify, what are you really doing here? What's your why? Why do you actually do the work you do?
Yes.
And when we're zoning in on that, we're trying to figure that out. So many of us are like, it's for my kids. My why is my kids. I'm like, no, it's not. Nope. There's something you've experienced. There's a shift. There's a transformation you've experienced that you now are uniquely set to bring to this world as well. There's a mission. There's a calling on your life that is
Yeah.
bigger than that. Yes, you want to give your kids a great life. You want to show them what's possible. You want to do all of that. But all of that, I would say, is still rooted in something deeper that says, I'm here to make it easy for people.
Yeah.
That's the impact. When you do that, people are going to say, you're kidding. You too? Or I've always made things so complicated. You're kidding. You too? Not
Yes.
you, Shelby. Everything's
Not
so easy
me.
when you do it.
Dude, every time I talk to you, my mind is blown. I'm like, this is obviously number one for me because I wanted to talk to you again. And number
Yeah,
two
that's
for
right.
my community because, like, truly, it's a genius because, like, just like what you just said, like, cool, you say your why is your kids. And Alex is like, no, it's not. And no, it's not. We're going to dive deeper. And it's like the conversations that I don't necessarily like thinking back to our session. I don't know if it was like I wasn't clear yet. Obviously, at the end, I have clarity now because like I see all my stories, but like it was almost like the uncomfortable aspect of like going back to what could have happened that got me to where I am, or what may have happened to have gotten me to where I am. Like, for example,
Uh-huh.
when we were talking about me, I grew up in a world of entrepreneurship. I saw that hard
Yeah.
work, you can get anything that you want with hard work. And so like it's like that we talked about how like I get just aggravated where people say they want XYZ, but they don't put in the work to do it. And then they complain because they don't get it. And I'm like, well, you just have to work hard. So like it's just like these little things that you pulled out of me that I would have never gotten as to why I was getting so aggravated with someone because they just didn't do it, or just because like these like small little things where I didn't know that I was overcomplicating things. And like, I kid you not, I've heard that statement without me even like telling my story now, or like the new like way we're messaging things
Uh-huh.
5 times within 1 month of like, Shelby, you're just overcomplicating it. It really doesn't have to be that complicated. I'm like, holy shit. Maybe this is another way of God telling me, like, okay, you have complicated things so much that it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be that complicated. And this is the story you're supposed to tell because it should be easy in whatever walks of life you're
Yeah.
doing. Alex is right. You have this one word that's going to bring whatever the two is, that is your word you focus on, where you go
Yeah.
into a session with Alex and you're like, I don't even know who I am. What's my name? But you're going to leave with so much clarity because he does pull it out of you. Like, truly, you made me very uncomfortable because also what I learned at this mastermind is my human design of where I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to be seen, but I like to see others and like what they do. And I'm a projector and I pull them along and I'm like, I believe in you, just do the damn thing, like kind of thing. Whereas like me, when people start to like talk about me or I talk about myself, I like hide. And I witnessed it. It was a very out of the box experience with Lauren. And I
Yeah.
was like, holy crap, I'm so embarrassed. I started crying. I bent over halfway because people were like, one of my girlfriends in the room were telling me like all the things about me. And I was like, I don't want to hear this. And she's like, I tried to hide behind her and she pushed me out. So like it's all like working with you and like really deep diving and like digging deep of like what my story is and what I want to do and how I want to explain to people like it is easy. Like just do what I tell you to do and it's easy. Like join my webinar, do these things. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
teach you how to make it easy. It's just so fun and clear now. And it's just so
But
kudos
this
to
is
you.
what's so fascinating to me about you and your transformation that I've had the privilege of experiencing over the last 6 weeks or so. It's been so again like clear and acute, this transformation that I'm seeing in you. Um, and I love the way I love the way that you're articulating it, because I think something that showed up there is, yes, there's the message. Like, you are taking this now and you are inviting people into that transformation.
Mm,
Like, very clearly, your messaging, how you're using this, don't feed the monster, or the monster needs to sleep as well. Like, all of that is rooted in that and stuff that we dug up. And it's a great invitation for people. If you feel like social media is overcomplicated, I can help you make it feel easy. Very clear invitation, right? But what's most important is that this was first for you.
mm,
So that when you are sitting here and you hear those messages, you hear people say, Shelby, you're overcomplicating things. You get to say, yeah, wait, that's who I was, not who I am.
yes.
So if that's showing up, if confusion for me is showing up, if complicating things is showing up for you, you get to go, okay, I see you. Not who I am, though. I'm a different character now. I've grown, I've shifted. I don't need to accept that. I get to go forward and be clear. You get to go forward and with ease.
Yes.
So the story is first for you, so that you can show up and then create the messaging and confidently go forward and be like, hell yeah, like, come on, I can help you make it easy. Stop
Yeah.
feeding the monster. Let's go. Because you've embraced it and you get to respond to that now. And I think I even said to you, I was like, you got to stop saying that you overcomplicate things. I think
Yes.
that's,
You
you gotta,
literally kept saying, like, you're writing your own narrative now. Like, you gotta
yeah,
stop. Like, start, like,
stop
you like
playing
put a
that
sticky
tape.
note on your mirror and say it's easy. Like ease
Yep.
everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
because
great.
you're then just reinforcing that story and saying to your subconscious, yeah, this is still who I am, and it's not. We just
Nope.
clarified that that's not who you are. It's Harry Potter getting to the end of the books and saying, I'm still the boy under the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, you're not. You're not alone anymore. You're loved. You're together. And you know what love is.
Yeah.
You've experienced it. You're not alone. And he's gonna feel alone at times, but he can remind himself, no, I'm not, though. That's not who I am anymore. this is the journey. This is the story. It's so simple when you break it down like that and see it, that you get to remind yourself of this. And that is the power, I think, of one clear story.
Oh my
Hmm.
God. Everybody's going to love this episode. You freaking rocked it. Okay. Tell everybody where they can find you, how they can work with you, why they should hire you. Because if you're listening to this and you don't hire him, I'm not letting you be in my community anymore. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. That was a joke. But give us the lowdown of all the things about Alex. Go.
I love it. I hang out on Instagram. Find me there. I'm at Street Says. Shoot me a DM. Say you listen to this. Say anything. It's always me in the DMs. I'm answering everything. I love to help people in there and support in any way. So do that. And then alexstreet.ca has all the info on my speaking and my coaching and how we can dive into that. Seriously, just get into it. Ask me whatever you want. The main work is one-on-one coaching. That's the main thing that I'm doing these days, because I just think it's so impactful.
Yes.
There will be a group experience coming in the fall where really helping speakers elevate or like work on your speech or like elevate your communication game. So I'm excited for that, but
can't wait.
That's where
I'm
we're at.
excited. And don't worry, guys, we're going to get him to Louisiana soon enough. He's from Canada.
Yeah. Could you tell? Can you hear the accent?
Yeah, a little bit. And some of the words that you say, I'm like, oh, that's different. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
It's such a pleasure. You really are. You're just such a joy, and you're so real. And I am so grateful for how you framed your own experience. And I think your audience is really benefiting from that, of seeing like you as a leader going through a transformation and willingly diving into it, accepting, saying, yes, I am getting better and I need to get even better at this, more clear on this. It's just we just need more leaders like you who are willing to step up and say, yeah, I'm trying and I'm growing, and you can come along for the ride if you want. Let's go.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. I'm grateful. I'm an emotional wreck, but anyway, I'm grateful for you too. I loved having you. Thank you so much. All right, guys, if you love this episode, please comment, share, like, leave us a review. And until next time, let's freaking get it. And that's a wrap on another episode of Damn Good Marketing Podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. Make sure you comment, review, share it with a friend. Come back next week. And until next time, let's freaking get it.